Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brainy Heart Meets Mind Kicker. Today, in this show, we'd like to talk about what makes your brain so special. Well, Jonas, have you thought about what makes your brain so special?
Actually, not before I met you, but since I met you, I've been thinking about more what the brain is so special. But for me, it was more like, all right, can I develop my brain? Can I also enhance my brain function and like that? And I didn't know it before I met you, so it's going to be really interesting to listen to you and learn more about it. So please let me know a little bit more, Eveline.
Well, I also don't know everything about brain. So, and the more I know that I know nothing. However, with my humble opinion, I can just tell to our audience that one of the best books that is out there and most modern approaches is from Lisa Feldman, 7.5 Lessons About Our Brain. She writes it in a wonderful manner. It's not a very thick book. It's not a very technical book. It's a wonderful book for you to listen and or to read about the different approaches of our brain. So I'd like to take her style a little bit because this book inspired me recently. I said, wow, what a modern book for brain owners. And I recommend this very book to my clients regularly. In her book, she started talking about that you don't have three brains. So, well, first of all, in the almost in medieval times, we had the idea of this. Triune brain concept, right? So that our reptile brain is there for our basic needs, right? So food, um, what else our basic needs, water, etc., right? So for hunting, um, and then the second brain, the triune brain concept, is that you've got another, the limbic system. This is for our emotional world, right? So you've got a second brain to for limbic system seen as a second brain, and then the third brain is the prefrontal cortex, so namely the thinking. So that the Korean brain concept talks about that you've got a reptile brain, and then you've got the emotional brain, and then you've got a thinking brain. So you don't have three brains in our heads, right? So it's also a only metaphoric explanation of to understand the concept of brain, but you don't have three brains. Then later on, when we take a look at our history, then we see this right left hemisphere, right? So although I studied this, that certain Brodmann areas in our brain, left hemisphere works like a linear processor, right hemisphere works like a holistic processor, and both of the brain parts, hemispheres, and in their Brodmann areas, the information, sensory information, outside information is being processed, and they both give their interpretation to it so that you understand, okay, that's my reality. But you don't have two brains either. So it's because we understand as well that somebody has a motorcycle accidents, for instance, we speak with our left hemisphere. So behind our left ear is this language centers. However, if we have an accident and lose this very part of our brain and its functions, then our right brain can take over the right hemisphere. The Brodmann areas in the right hemisphere can take over the job of the left hemisphere because this Brodmann areas are not perfectly functioning at the moment. So she, in her book, Dr. Feldman talks about as well that you don't have two brains either. And most likely she just explains that today in neuroscience we just see the brain not a three brain concept or a two brain concept. We see it as a whole, and she compares it, I find totally wonderful, with the air network around the planet and our planet, and says, well, imagine that we've got very important airports around the world, right? Frankfurt airport in Germany, Helsinki airport in Finland, etc., etc. So we've got really important airports, and London airport, right? So, and when one of these airports, people are on strike or something isn't working, fog, bad weather conditions, etc. What happens is that all the passengers and their luggages are to be redirected to the other airports.
Oh, I just love when you explain about airports. I mean, I love traveling. I've been traveling since I was 20 around the world 2 times. So I've been at many, many airports. So I understood how you explained it now better. But also what you said about the motorbikes accident, because I had a martial art friend in Germany who went to a car accident, and he actually needed to learn everything again, writing, and he used to be a left-handed writer, but then he became a right-handed writer. So really exciting to hear your knowledge about this. So tell me more.
Well, neuroplasticity is as an amazing concept that we thought years long. If you're at the age of 7, then you're gonna be like this, and then if you're gonna be the same this at the age of 7 to 7. Well, that's not true. Depending on how brain owner deals and what kind of qualities or skills this brain owner shows, it's his or her brain. And as said, the today we should really take a look at our brains as a whole, like the airport concept. So like if you didn't sleep well, and or your pet died, or somebody you really like left us, etc. So what happens is that a very important airport falls out, it's not under function. So what happens is that your brain just redirects all the passengers, all the luggages, etc., to the other airports, and that has got its price. Certainly it takes an amazing energy, and it takes an amazing effort, basically, to manage all these, so that you can still eat, you can still walk, etc., etc., right? So, and our brain reorganizes itself all the time, right? So our neural connections, I mean, if this is a neuron, for instance, so when I just hit this ball somewhere, yeah, and it's got 1,000 different possibilities where it can just jump, right? So, and where it jumps, it depends on how much serotonin you had in your system, how much cortisol, stress hormones you have got in your system, how much food. So, like many people, I'm included, we get hangry when we don't eat, right? So because the certain neural connections, they don't manage to work with each other, and that's why we should understand, or we should learn to interpret, and we should learn to understand our brain like this, right? So this is what I would like to urge to our audience.
Ah, yeah, yeah. It sounds really interesting to, like I said, I only have done it. I have not knowing it, so I'm really pleased to learn more through our joint venture about this journey. So, yeah, I was thinking about, like you said, about like hangry, and is that a brain owner thing, or is it like the body?
Well, I mean, this is the awareness we are going to raise in this channel here, right? So that you cannot separate the two from each other, right? So, I mean, and you only a healthy uh, body can have a healthy brain, and vice versa.
Yeah, yeah, that's good to hear because in the ancient wisdom, it's also said body, mind, and soul, but sometimes people said mind, body, soul. or not even soul, but when we pronounce it like mind first. But for our uh, take in the ancient wisdom is like body, mind, and soul. So it's going to be really interesting, Eveline, and I'm already very, very curious about what we can share and what you can share because I know what I can share.
Yes, exactly. But like that, everyone could feel this as well, feeling or getting out of our comfort zone and understanding ourselves and our brains is a great idea. So we can do this for we can, for instance, fold your arms now with me, yes, in the way you would always do, exactly, and now fold them the way around. Mm. Again and again. Mm. So this is very easy, I can tell, yeah, for you and for me. However, for many, that's gonna be like, why? Because they're used to do this, and then to get out of that comfort zone and to do it the way around is an act for them. So this is how the change feels all the time, right? So,
Mm.
and this is what I meant with the neuron just jumps to different directions. So when you just always do the same thing, this neuron jumps always in the same angle. However, when you change um, the way you think, the way you even move, etc., then you just also influence how far and what direction this neuron jumps.
Oh
And
yeah.
in that sense, um, it's always a good idea to do a self check. We've never learned, right? So every morning we learned, on every evening we should brush our teeth, etc., from very young childhood on. And the new times we should start teaching our kids, raising awareness about by when brushing our teeth or washing our faces every morning, to raise this question: how am I today? Hmm? And it's
Amazing,
totally
amazing
okay.
that you're saying it.
Exactly. It's okay to be down, to be sad, but it's also energetic, happy. So we are not made to be happy all the time, right? So that you should learn to also digest and master the negative emotions,
Mm.
because when you do not know the downs, you will not know how precious the ups are, I say all the time. So it's always a good idea to really face and be aware that, okay, I'm today a little bit melancholic. Why? Well, the weather is not so nice, or I lost my gloves yesterday in the evening. I wonder where it is, and I'm annoyed about this, etc. So to know how we feel is always a good idea at the very beginning of the day.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you're talking about like get to know yourself better because even today when I meet adult people, they ask me how I am or how are you, and yeah, I know myself because I do what you're talking about. So when I ask them how are you, and they always say 99% will always say how are you, they will answer be fine. Even if I'm not finished the question, they will raise their hand, I'm fine. And then I ask them every time, why? And once again, 99% says, I don't know. But then I said, why do you answer fine? Yeah, I always done that. So it's really take about working with the youth as well because yeah, like kids don't do what you say, they do what you do. So so it's a really interesting take, and hopefully we can share some great
Well,
exercises and
indeed. I mean, the practice you just mentioned right now is actually an entrenched way, because in many cultures, um, I mean, how are you is not a question; it's a greeting, right? So then, in England or in America, you say, "How are you? How are you?" So the question is never answered. So people see this question as a greeting rather than, oh, I'm being asked, how are you? Right? So, considering this is an important thing, and also raising awareness today after our show, that how am I today? What makes our brain so very special? Our little audience, yeah. So, what makes our brain very special is your brain very special is that, um, what kind of chemicals you are adding to your brain, right? So, how you live, what kind of food you eat, and how much you slept, how much appreciation you feel in your life, how much you appreciate yourself, others, and
Yeah.
yourself. This
Yeah,
all
and
changes our brain chemicals. And
that's what I think
so,
we will talk about next episode,
yes,
and so
exactly.
on.
And this is we wanted to identify, in this very chapter, what makes our brain very special. And that is why I'm wrapping it up right now, saying is that we don't have three brains, we don't have two brains. Neuroplasticity is not a voodoo, it's a reality of our times, and we should get along and use this knowledge of neuroplasticity, um, in a very smart and a very charming way, um, for the years to come. So, it's more than high time, to do this. Well, in
Perfect.
this sense, I, would say, um, we'd like to see you in our next chapter. We would like to talk about five fun ways to calm down together with yourselves, with your kids, with your team, wherever you are. And, look forward to seeing you all back online. See you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.